Yes. The Eagles parade today. Oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. Yeah. Bobby, if everything worked in this place, then what would we do? Well, what would we do if it was perfect? I feel like I might be coming down with something. I don't have a fever or a headache or anything. I just the voice. All of Vegas is sick, man.
Usually, I'm the first one to get them.
Yeah.
JT for Grimaldi's New York style coal fire brick oven pizza that you crave. 4 locations here in the valley.
All right, what do you want to talk about today? You might say, well, why is he asking us? He's the host because we're in the dead zone. You don't want me to do an hour on the NBA. You don't want me to do an hour on Four Nations hockey. You want me to talk Raiders and football. So we got the Eagles parade.
You're listening to the JT the Brick Show, where the Raider Nation has come to sound off and react for over 20 years.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio, your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years. And now, here's JT the Brick.
Out of the gate, JT with you Friday in studio. Didn't rain. Nice today. Good to see. Great living out here, man. It rains for a few seconds or a few hours, and then it blows through in clear skies, and hopefully that'll be this weekend because I got golf on Saturday and Sunday, which I'm excited about, and that's where we're at today on this gorgeous seasonable Friday, a Modelo Friday. If you're watching me on YouTube, I don't know why, if you could just have it on your phone or you can look at it. JT the Brick YT, YT's for YouTube. We got our own channel, and we're building that one day at a time, and you can get in the chat, and you can talk to everybody in the chat. Everybody, yes, Big Al was in there. I do not watch Eagle parades, but today I have to because what else is there to do other than watching a bunch of drunks in Philadelphia take their kids? And I'll say this next hour, too. I'm not into DUIs, nor should you be. Don't ever drink and drive. Don't. It's just so stupid. If you have one, you're drinking and driving. If you have 3, you're drinking and driving. Just don't do it. But, Bobby, do you know how many moms and dads are bringing their kids to that parade today? It's parked about an hour away and are walking around, and they're fueled up, and they're going to walk back to their car. Good luck. I hope this thing goes over safely in Philadelphia because those lunatics, this is only their second Super Bowl, number 2. They never had a Super Bowl. They've gotten 2 recently, 2 in the last 4 years. That's a nice run. 2 in the last 5 years, and so is Kansas City. And that's the focus of my monologue, brought to you by PTs. They fuel the monologue. 5 to 7, midnight to 2, the best happy hour in town. No need to worry. Only 2 teams have been any good enough to win the Super Bowl in the last 5 years. The Eagles and, unfortunately, the Chiefs in our division, if you're Raider Nation. 1 team wins every year. 1. The Raiders should conservatively have 6 to 7 Super Bowl wins, conservatively. Just in the 70s, they should add 5. And into the 80s, and you know what happened, the Immaculate Deception, all those championship games that they lost, all those playoff games that they lost against elite teams that ended up winning the Super Bowl. I thought the Raiders were better than the teams that beat them in the majority of those losses. They were. You could look at exactly what's going on. But they didn't do it. So they got 3, Super Bowl 11, 15, and 18. Super Bowl 18 is really a long time ago. But the Eagles have only won 2. And the dynasty has stopped in Kansas City. That's great news. We spent a whole week talking about that. And then all the other teams, the Buffalo Bills have never won a Super Bowl. Bills have been better than the Raiders for what, 10 years? More. Yeah, more than that. They don't have a Super Bowl to show for it. Cincinnati's never won a Super Bowl. Detroit's never won a Super Bowl. They're the best team in football right now today. I think Detroit, not Philadelphia, is still the best team. I wish Detroit would have had a shot at playing Philadelphia at home. That would have been fun to see. Jaden Daniels is coming. But only 1 team wins it. That's it. And we didn't have to celebrate Kansas City. And that made my life a lot easier because, as I said all week long, that was insurmountable. I don't think the Raiders would have ever recovered. The Raiders would have won Super Bowls, and Tom Brady's going to fix the ship and all this stuff that's going on. I'm confident in that, but there's no way anybody's going to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. And Kansas City was 60 minutes away. If they did, we, the Raider Nation, never would have in our lifetime been able to live with that. I can live with them winning 2 Super Bowls and being a dynasty. It hurts, but the three-peat was what I was focused on. And they didn't get the three-peat. And I told you Andy Reid got outcoached. He clearly got outcoached. No one seems to have the courage to say that other than me. Like everybody's like afraid to say Andy Reid got outcoached. They always tell us when our coaches get outcoached. How many times did I have to sit behind this microphone where you, the fans of the Raider Nation, told me Antonio Pierce got outcoached, Josh McDaniels got outcoached thousands of times, literally, for people calling in? So Andy Reid got outcoached, and he was terrible in that game. He didn't have his team prepared. He didn't make adjustments. He didn't run the ball. Fact, not fiction. I'm not making this up. Andy Reid will be back. He'll be back. Today, in this first hour, because in the second hour, we're going to be here live. We're going to play the Eric Allen interview. We did Eric Allen. We had the first interview with Eric Allen a week ago today. One of the most emotional interviews I've ever conducted. Want to hear that again? People want to hear it again. It's getting a big download on some other sites. So we'll play that at some point. Bobby will fit it in next hour too. Also, I'm diving into mock drafts. And I'm looking at mock drafts. So there's a couple of them today that I got up and looked at. CBS Sports, Field Yates, and ESPN. And here's what's happening this week. We're finding out that Shedeur Sanders is dropping. There's a couple of mock drafts that have Shedeur falling to the Raiders at 6. I don't believe that. I believe that's fake news. I don't believe that he's going to be available at 6. I think he's going to be taken at 1 or 3, the Titans or the Giants. Cleveland needs a quarterback. So will the Raiders trade up? One of the mock drafts that I looked at today had the Raiders trading from 6 to 2 with Cleveland to get Shedeur. That's realistic to me. If you want Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, you're going to have to show up to the bank, and you're going to have to take some assets out of the bank, and you're going to have to give them away to move up. It's okay. That's big boy radio. Anybody can do that. John Spytek, he's capable of doing that. Tom Telesco. But remember, first-time GMs typically don't want to be made famous for a pick that they don't love. Yeah. Very important point. Good. Now, if you've been a GM like Howie Roseman, he's the best, by far, the best executive in sports in the NFL, no debate, is Howie Roseman with the Eagles. If he swings and misses on a first-round pick, no big deal. They're going to have a statue of him in Philadelphia next to Rocky for building these teams. But John Spytek, who we're getting to know, does he want to be remembered in his first draft for trading up from 6 to 1 or 2? I don't know. I don't know him. I interviewed him once. Great guy. Tom Brady and John Spytek and Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly are going to be diving into their quarterback tape. And Tom's either going to go like this, if you can watch me. See this? Thumbs up or thumbs down. You know the emoji? Yeah. That's all Tom's going to do. Tom's going to be in the meeting. He's going to have a big, big bottle of water next to him. And he's going to be saying, no, that's not the quarterback. I looked at the tape. I know him. I watched him work out. He's not the guy we need at this time. Pete, do you agree? Pete's like, yeah, I agree. Chip, do you agree? I don't know. I kind of like him. And they'll discuss it, and they'll make up their mind on the quarterback. Quarterback's going to be fun this year because, as you know, when Derek was here for 9 years, I had to guard Derek Carr on the radio. I had to. It was part of my job, and I loved doing it. Derek was a good player. Right? Derek was a good player, good guy. Consider him someone I really respect. I think he respected me. And Derek played pretty well for his entire time with the Raiders. He's a very good player. He was the type of guy you could win with. You could have won a Super Bowl in those 9 years with Derek Carr. I thought we were going to get close when he broke his ankle in 2016. We had a pretty good shot to go deep into the playoffs. So Derek's gone, and ever since then, it's been a disaster at the quarterback position, a disaster. Period. It's been a disaster with good names and good quarterbacks who, for whatever reason, just couldn't play to the best of their ability. Not that they weren't good. But when we got Jimmy Garoppolo and Gardner Minshew, they played poorly. We got them for one reason, to play better. We, the Raider Nation, said, okay, Jimmy G, Gardner Minshew, we're going to give you the chance to be the starter here. All you got to do is do what you've done in the past. Play pretty well, maybe play better, and then take us to where we need to go. And they both regressed. I didn't see it coming with either one of them. I thought Gardner Minshew would be pretty good. He wasn't. And I thought that Jimmy Garoppolo would be above average. He wasn't. We can't make that mistake anymore. We know what we have with Aiden O'Connell. You can put Aiden O'Connell out in any atmosphere, he can win a game. But he's not elite. He's not an elite quarterback. Can he develop into an elite quarterback? Of course he can. He's a 4th-round pick. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. You can. Brock Purdy is going to get $55 million. He was Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft. It could happen. And we wish Aiden gets better. I think he will get better. But we know what the ceiling is, or we have an idea what the ceiling is for Aiden now. And maybe that ceiling will reset. Maybe, again, when we were in Costa Mesa, Aiden O'Connell should have been named the starter in the preseason. But I was there. I didn't think he deserved it. He didn't play well. Neither did Gardner Minshew. The only guy who played well in the preseason last year in practice was Max Crosby. He wrecked every practice. I've been texting with Max today. Max was just blowing up Costa Mesa like a nuclear bomb. And the ball was on the ground every play. And practices were not very productive because the offense didn't have Jackson Powers Johnson and Colton Miller. We went to Costa Mesa, and Jackson Powers Johnson and Colton Miller didn't practice once. And then the quarterbacks weren't any good. That will not happen again. No. That will not happen again. This thing is going to be buttoned up. Not that Antonio Pierce didn't have it buttoned up. He just didn't have a quarterback in training camp with an offensive line good enough to protect him when they went 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. That was it. So nothing worked last year. It's got to be better this year. Training's got to be different. Competition with Pete Carroll, we know is coming in big. Oh, that's coming in huge. And everybody's just got to be a little bit better. For the players that were injured, what I like about this year, and I was telling Bobby this before the show, I'm a guy in sports that I like discipline. I grew up with George Steinbrenner, who was a lunatic. He was the owner of the Yankees.
No.
And Billy Martin, with all due respect, was a drunk. He would drink until 3 a.m. and show up hungover, but he always had his players ready to play. And if he didn't, Steinbrenner fired him, and he fired him a number of times. And he always brought him back. So I grew up in that chaos. When I grew up in New York as a kid, okay, I'm talking a teenager, 14, 15, 16 years old.
Right.
You know what was on the TV every night on my local news? Donald Trump, not the politician.
Right.
He was on the news every night
Right.
and on the back of the paper for doing things. And George Steinbrenner, that was the backdrop of my youth. I grew up with that. Chaos, rampant chaos in the newspaper. And the newspapers that I grew up with, unlike the Las Vegas Review-Journal and the Oakland Tribune and the San Francisco Chronicle, the newspapers that my dad would bring home, what a memory. My dad would take the train every day. I'm talking 90 minutes in and out. When my dad retired at his retirement party, someone stepped up and said that my dad spent 2.5 years of his life on a train.
Of course.
Just commuting. And he would come home, and when he would come home with his briefcase, he would have the newspaper. He'd have the New York Post or the Daily News, and I would get it and grab it, and I would read the box scores. We'd read the box scores. That made me a better sports fan because I'd have to open up a newspaper and I'd have to read what happened and read some columns and all of that. Now kids just open up their TikTok and they see Luka hitting a fadeaway, one-step fadeaway, and that's their news. They're not diving into columns. They're not breaking down box scores. They're not doing anything. These 16 and 17 and 12-year-old boys and girls are reading box scores. They're not even doing anything. They're barely watching SportsCenter. They already got the news before Scott Van Pelt comes on at 11 o'clock. So I grew up in chaos. I don't want any more ups and downs with the Raiders. I want the Raiders, and again, I always say this because I feel like Antonio Pierce could be watching. He could be watching right now. I doubt it. But if he is, I don't want him to say, man, JT was so cool to me, and now I'm gone and he's ripping me. No, that'll never happen. I thought Antonio Pierce did a nice job. and he had this team ready to play. And the practices were good. The practices in Costa Mesa were a mess because the offense couldn't catch the ball and couldn't get the ball out. But they were ready to play all the time. This is just going to be different. It's not a knock on Josh McDaniels, Antonio Pierce. Pete Carroll's better. Pete Carroll is a better head coach than Rich Bisaccia. He's a better head coach than Antonio Pierce. That's it. And Josh McDaniels, not even close. So he's got to change the concept. People talk about the culture. Oh, the culture, what's the culture? What does culture mean to you? That's a pretty good topic today, Bobby, as we're throwing darts up against the wall. What does culture mean to you on a Friday? Culture to me means showing up early, leaving late, respecting your teammates and everybody in the building, treating your body like a shrine, right? Treating your body the way it should. And as Coach Madden said, play like hell on Sunday. It's the same culture that John Madden had, right? But maybe it's going to be different this time. Maybe it's going to be different. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe the practices are going to be more extreme. Maybe they're going to be more intense. Maybe they're going to be more fun. We'll find out. But the Raiders need a drastic change heading into the combine. They need to be laser focused and they have to thread the needle. I didn't know that John Spytek was getting the job. I didn't know that Pete Carroll was getting the job. I had no idea if it was going to be Ben Johnson, Pete Carroll, whoever it was going to be. But I've been telling you on all these platforms that the Raiders have to be great the entire offseason. They have the second most money cap space-wise. They have kind of near the top of all the draft equity you could want. They have to sign the players that are going to be here correctly. I don't know what that means. Like if you tell me Nate Hobbs or not, we have a different opinion. Nate Hobbs is never healthy. So you want Nate Hobbs? Okay, so do I. What price? Anybody know? I'm not giving him a premium. But then again, I don't get involved with players' money. So if you want to give Nate Hobbs more money than he deserves, I'm fine with that because that's John Spytek's job. But the rest of the guys there, you got to re-audition for your job. Does everybody understand this? I got buddies of mine who are in their late 50s like me, and their jobs are running out, and they're like, oh, my God, I got to get a new job. Like, what are you worried about? They go, 58 years old, do you think I'm going to get a new job? I go, yeah, you are. You've had a hell of a career. Go apply for these jobs and bring your clients with you and go get a new job. They're like, no, it's not that easy. Well, it's not going to be that easy for the Raiders if you want to reapply for your job with this team. You got a whole bunch of different eyeballs on you that have been on you in the past. You are going to be evaluated for how good your tape looked last year when we were on a 10-game losing streak. Did you run to the ball? On the interception, did you sprint? John Spytek told us that in our first interview with Eric Allen. Did you sprint to the ball? They're all looking at tape differently than Antonio Pierce, Tom Telesco, the other coaches that we hear. Not saying it's better or worse, but it's going to be different. So I embrace all of this. I want to know what you're embracing on a Friday. It's a Modelo Friday. My son just drove back in town. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Bobby will be playing Valentine's Day music. It'll probably be more metalish because Bobby's a metalhead, and it'll probably be a little bit you're looking at me like we're not going to play. It's Valentine's Day. We can find some Valentine's Day music, and we'll guess what Bobby's going to play. I can guess if you listen. I can guess. We'll see what happens. I'll talk about it next hour. I met with my wife, and I celebrate Valentine's Day tomorrow because tomorrow is the day we met, February 15th, 1998. At the Center Bar at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Both of us on our way into the Rolling Stones. She went by herself because she ripped the ticket stub from John Cougar Mellencamp and put it in a barrel, and they pulled her name out of the barrel. I talk about fate. I believe in fate because it happened to me. And then I went in with my two knucklehead friends to run to the bar and drink as many shots as I could going into the Stones, and she was right next to me. If she was 5 feet away, I never would have met her. That's fate. So we will celebrate tomorrow. At some point, my son drove back from Tempe because he has President's Day off. Bobby, are you confirmed we have Monday off for President's Day?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're off on Monday on this platform. But I'm doing a double Monday and Tuesday on Mad Dog Sports Radio, so we'll work through that. And then it's going to be a good weekend. And again, I don't think you need topics spoon-fed, but I gave you the culture of the Raiders. We're going to talk about mock drafts. We'll have the Eric Allen interview coming up and the Dean of the Newsmen. Chris Matthews will join us at the bottom of the hour because he's the best, and we go around Vegas and find out what's going on in sports here. I love this Four Nations hockey. Love it. We have USA and Canada this weekend. Here's why I love this hockey that they're playing. It's not an all-star game. Oh, no. It is not an all-star game, man. These guys are playing hard. Now, we have the NBA all-star game for our listeners in Oakland, in the Bay Area. So 25 years ago, in the year 2000, Oakland had the all-star game. The stories I have were amazing because I was fully credentialed for the dunk contest with Vince Carter and the parties that were in San Francisco, not in Oakland, and then the game. And my wife told me, she goes, go in the garage, man. You got a lot of merch from that. I remember you have a jacket, a sweatshirt. I watched last night and I said, God, that's 25 years ago. A quarter century ago, the NBA All-Stars came to Oakland, and it was a big deal. It was a really big deal. If you went to that or you're listening in Oakland or in the East Bay or the Bay Area, give me a call with your memory of that at 702-365-9200. That was a great memory because the Bay Area exploded for that event. And that's when that All-Star game actually mattered. Yeah. Now it's absolute trash. Anybody even know how they're doing this format? Are they like picking teams again? They're picking teams and rotating teams per quarter. How have they destroyed the NBA All-Star game that badly? How do you take something where you have East versus West? The NBA All-Star game, you take the East versus the West. Right. You get the best 12 players in each conference. You tell them to play their ass off and give them more money or an incentive, and you play basketball hardcore in front of the fans who are paying all your salaries and buying all your merch. Yeah. Now, it's been destroyed. They can't even get people in the dunk contest. The three-point contest, because of Steph and what he was able to do, made it good. But how do you take something, the Pro Bowl in football I get, because it's the end of the year and the Super Bowl team doesn't go to the Pro Bowl, right? You have to have it for the Super Bowl. They wanted to cut down on the injuries, even the flag football injuries on the sand, guys blowing out their knees. I get that. But they destroyed the Pro Bowl. It's gone. The Pro Bowl games, they actually play ping pong and dodgeball and tug of war. They actually do for the kids. The baseball all-star game by far is the best. It's a real game. And you know why the baseball all-star game is so difficult? Because the pitchers are so elite that you could put a starting pitcher in the sixth inning who's throwing 99. I don't care who you are. You're not going to hit that guy. You could be an all-star. So the baseball all-star game is by far the best one because it's hard. And then the hockey all-star game. Oh, geez. What'd they make that? 3-on-3? 3-on-3? Come on. But the NBA all-star game, we're at a tipping point with the NBA. If you read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, we're at a point in NBA history where it's teetering because young people aren't paying attention to a full NBA game. My sons are good examples. And they'll sit there with me and watch a game. They're Laker fans. I'm a Knick fan. But I don't watch a whole Knick game. I'll turn it on in the second half. Playoffs, I will. But the All-Star game has been bad because the players who are rewarded and in the All-Star game, a lot of those players are the guys that I despise the most. Yeah. James Harden. You know, Bronny James had more points than Paul George the other night. Bronny James. And some of them are great, you know, Giannis and Steph. They're great players, and they play hard all the time. But it's another event in sports that they've taken and destroyed in our lifetime. Yeah. The NBA All-Star game used to be cool. Kobe and Michael Jordan, they played hard.
Bird and Magic,
they played hard.
Every time.
What has changed? What's changed is the money. When you get an NBA player who's making $238 million in a contract compared to Larry Bird making $31 million, yeah, it changes. The size of the mansion, the type of car, the vacations you go on. So I will not be watching the NBA All-Star game. I'll watch the highlights. We got our buddy Seamus Power. Here's a cool story. I sit with him at the Raider games. He's an Irish golfer. He's in second place at the Genesis. Great guy. I see him at every Raider home game. He loves the Raiders. He might win this golf tournament. He's ahead of Scotty Scheffler before they teed off today. And then we have the Great American Race, the Daytona 500 coming up, which I love. I'll watch the Daytona 500. That's coming up this weekend, too. So it's a pretty good sports weekend. Hopefully it's a great Valentine's Day for you. Raiders put out a bunch of fun stuff with Valentine's Day. Partake if you would like. Getting a restaurant reservation in town. It is kind of impossible, Bobby. But, well, wait. I was going to get Johnny Katz on. We'll do that again. Vegas took a nosedive last week during Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
I did that video that's trending because they're charging too much. Believe me, every restaurant, casino in town, they want your ass in their restaurants on Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of places that are empty. They want you in there. So hopefully people are celebrating Valentine's Day. And I'm here all by my lonesome. I don't have 2 or 3 guys. I got Bobby. I don't have 2 co-hosts. I don't have clappers. You know, some of the shows have clappers. So when the voice of the host gets tired, he just calls on a clapper who's wearing a costume or a helmet on his head to be stupid. I don't get any of that. It's just me. I apologize for talking sports too much. But we're heading into the weekend, and the culture of the Raiders is the topic today because we love Antonio Pierce. He was great. Only good things to say. He had the culture. He wore the Raider jacket. He connected with Compton. He was out there in the black hole. That wasn't bad for culture. What do you think in the Raider Nation is going to be the biggest culture shift? I'd be interested to hear what you think from the black hole to fans all over the country. 702-365-9200 is the number. We are brought to you by the Black Hole, and I appreciate them. They stepped up for Max Crosby's event coming up on a week from Saturday, which I'll be the MC out in Henderson. The Commitment to Excellence Awards is back, and Max Crosby's won a bunch of them recently, and we're going to have a big night for him if you're going to that. Brought to you by the Black Hole. When we come back from 8 News Now, the sports director, Chris Matthews. He's good. He knows what's happening. There's a lot going on that I don't know about. Girls flag football, college hockey, NASCAR coming to Vegas. Chris has got it all covered. So jump on in. 702-365-9200. It is a Modelo, bucket of Modelo Friday.
It's the morning tailgate.
It is just fascinating, the roster reconstruction that
Great. How are you?
How we doing, everybody? My buddy Big Al's in here, man. Good to see you, man. I didn't know you were in the chat. Nice. Fluffer. Kenny Clark's here a lot. Fabian's always around. You got to do something for all of our regulars. Appreciate every one of you.
Weekdays at 7 a.m. on Raider Nation Radio.
Caesar, shout out.
Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders and Allegiant Stadium.
Life is good. God is great. From Adam Hughes.
Visit their 10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get out of
Happy
hand.
V-Day today for everybody out there.
This is Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m. The home of Raider Nation.
This is JT for Grimaldi's New York style coal fired brick oven pizza that you crave. 4 locations here in the
Oh, I was up early today. Early.
So Southwest Las Vegas on South Rainbow Boulevard and Green Valley on Southeastern Avenue.
So there I was, trying to impress my wife by fixing the kitchen sink clog myself. I thought, how hard could it be? I mean, I do.
Man, it is snowing out west, man. It is snowing out west. Tahoe's getting dumped on. Duck Creek. My buddy can't even get into his lodge at Duck Creek.
Have my guys perform our furnace rejuvenation to keep your heating system running smoothly all winter long. Visit Gettle.com. Getl. Will unclog your drain, but it's hard to spell.
Running a business gets more complicated every year, so you need a trusted advisor in your corner, especially when it comes to your workers' comp program. Pro Group Management has been helping Nevada's self-insured businesses for over 20 years. Whether your business is retail, trucking, building, agriculture, or auto, our team has the expertise to make sure you're covered.
Rain in the Bay Area. It rains a lot in the Bay Area, man. It does. It rains a lot in the Bay Area. And then when the weather's nice in the Bay Area, everybody loses their mind. Yeah, I like the hat too, Modelo. Go to Modelo's website, get that hat.
Visit our website at pgmnv.com to receive a free cost savings analysis now. That's
Matter of fact, I'm going to take a picture of this.
Las Vegas office at 702
Modelo Friday.
4380. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
What is GMTVCC? It's a mouthful. The translation for GMTVCC.com is Give Me the VIN Classic and Collector Cars. It's a brand new buying division of Give Me the VIN, but it's for classic and collector cars. Experience.
So you got everything from me, right, Bobby? You got those reads. I did that. Appreciate it.
Or your granddad's old 1985 square body Chevy truck. GMTVCC.com is where you go to get real.
I don't drink Modelo cans. I do drink cans. I like the bottles. I like those great bottles.
Brought to you by Give Me the VIN.
You gonna call Chris in a minute? Yeah, wait a second for him. What do you want to come out of break with? Come out with Kellen Moore on Derek Carr. I think that's a good one.
Plus, the kitchen is cooking up everything from shareable bar bites to breakfast, flatbread pizzas, and monster-sized burgers. This is your
Okay.
headquarters, the Tailgater Tavern at Russell and Valley View, your gateway to the stadium. Great cities are built on strong foundations. The skilled members of Laborers Local 872 never stop building. From the asphalt on our roads.
Oh, what are we gonna do tonight?
The solar fields powering the economy.
Hey, Chris, it's Bobby. How you doing?
In between to work
Doing
safely.
all right. I'll get you up in shape.
Laborers
Keeping you about a
Local
minute and a half.
872 is modernizing the Nevada workforce and building a global city. The future
Your own
is
clapper.
union strong.
The Clappers. I would actually tell people if they wanted to get in sports radio in 2025 to be a clapper. Go volunteer to be on a radio show that's on TV. Act like a costume character and get on. You might get on the radio. Fabian, you're in Dublin, California, not Dublin, Ireland. I know that. My cousin lives in Dublin, man. The only blood that I have on the West Coast, my cousin through my mom, is in Dublin.
Brought to you by Commissariat Tequila, the official tequila of the JT the Brick Show.
Derek's a tremendous quarterback in this league. I've had so much respect for him, the journey that he's been on. He's a starter in this league. He's a premier player in this league. He's had a great journey, obviously going from Fresno State to the Raiders and now here. Really excited to team up with him and go through this process. And so just like any player on this roster, I just got here a few days ago and I'm excited to go through this journey with all of them.
That's interesting. That's Kellen Moore, and he's the new head coach. We all knew this was coming in New Orleans, and they got to make a decision on Derek Carr's future because he don't want to take a pay cut. Believe me, Derek don't want to take a pay cut, and New Orleans is in cap hell. The Dean and the Newsmen join us, the best from 8 News Now, Chris Matthews. Hello, Chris, and we're back from New Orleans, and Kansas City did not three-peat, which is good news for the Raider Nation.
I knew you had a smile on your face that night. I guarantee you had a smile on your face that night.
Yeah, that needed to happen, as I said, Chris, and I've been telling you for a while, too. This would have been insurmountable for Raider Nation because no one's going to get a three-peat. It's never happened before. If Kansas City did, it'll never happen again, and that would be something Kansas City would have over the Raiders forever. So I needed that thing to be put down. And were you surprised they played so poorly, or was Philadelphia just playing a better brand of football?
Boy, I think Philadelphia they got hot. Mahomes made some mistakes at critical times early, and you got behind. And then, and I've seen some of your stuff and listen to you, JT. I have to agree with you a little bit here that Andy Reid, the great Andy Reid, probably got out-coached a bit in that game. But when you fall behind like they did and start scrambling, they probably changed a little bit in their playbook and what they're going, their plans and what we're going to do, because suddenly, next thing you know, it's 17-0, 24-0. The Eagles are into the 40s already before Kansas City kind of even wakes up. And I think it's got smacked in the face. And I think early on, just a few Mahomes mistakes, the pressure on Mahomes, and really all this year, if you look back, and I know you probably talked about this a ton on your show, but if you look back on Kansas City's season, there were games, including the Raiders game, where they could have easily lost a few, like maybe even 4 games this season. So they were vulnerable. That offensive line let up a bit, and Philadelphia's line was absolutely awesome. In fact, I would have been perfectly happy. I know Jalen Hurts had a great game, a phenomenal game, and really worthy of the MVP. But if you would have said to me after that game, guess what? We're going to completely change this whole MVP thing. We're giving the entire defensive line the MVP honors. I'd have been happy with that. I think they played a phenomenal game.
Yeah, they did. The difference was, Chris, and I was shocked. after the game that they didn't blitz. For Vic Fangio, and Andy Reid gave us a clue at his, I don't know if it was media night, but one of his press conferences in New Orleans, he said that he sees Vic Fangio all the time. He's in Denver, he sees him twice a year. All the Miami, he sees them all the time. So I think Fangio, along with Nick Sirianni, had a game plan which was 7 deep, rush 4, and those 4 would get home. They sacked Mahomes 6 times without blitzing him. I didn't think that was possible.
That was amazing when you look at that stat and not a single blitz, and they got to Holmes. And not only, like you mentioned, sacked him 6 times, but he was under duress a ton. In fact, probably the whole night. It seemed like he was running the entire night, looking over his shoulder, trying to make a play. And it was really a rough night on Mahomes. And after the game, he took responsibility, and it was on me. And rightfully so. He had a terrible game. And then tell Travis Kelce, who has just killed the Raiders in the past, didn't have a good game at all.
Absolutely. Chris Matthews is our guest. So we come off of that, and we're going to get ready for the combine coming up and then the draft. But most importantly, free agency. And you're at a lot of the press conferences. It's kind of a little bit of a low now as we wait for Tom Brady's role coming off the broadcast. But Chris, what have you been noticing with your reports and the reporters underneath you as they're putting packages together about this new culture? That's our topic today. And what could be new with the Raiders coming up under Pete Carroll?
Well, what a great word. That new culture is absolutely evident in almost anything you see and hear now with the Raiders. And I know it's bothered you over the years how the Raiders get zero national exposure. But now with the hire of Pete Carroll, and you got Spy Tech, but mostly Pete Carroll, and even Chip Kelly, now you're starting to see these people around the country who follow football like you and I do and who talk about football are saying, hey, the Raiders have something going there now with Pete Carroll. Here's a guy who is experienced, won Super Bowl, one at the highest level, one at the college level, at the highest level in college. So here's a guy who brings it all to the table, along with that experience and a player's coach. People like to play with this for this guy. I think it's just an entirely different culture. Now you just feel it and sense it. We'll see what happens when, camp rolls around and we kind of get into it. But right now it's just, I can't even think of one negative aspect to what the Raiders have been doing so far.
Chris Matthews, 8 News Now. So a couple of storylines overall that's happening here. If we keep an eye on the running Rebels and basketball and Kevin Kruger, it's kind of go time now. And this is a team that's got to kind of run the table, ups and downs. They don't have the players compared to some of the other teams in the conference, which is a different story. But this town, Chris, when you've been here and even when you were in college out of market and came here, we have an expectation for UNLV basketball to peak at the right time, Mountain West, and have an opportunity to get a bid. I think it's getting tight, man. This thing's got to get going here in the next couple of weeks. You would agree?
Yeah, it certainly does. And the Rebels have proved they can beat anybody in the conference. They should have beaten New Mexico at home. They'll play them in a few weeks, the final regular season home game at the Pit in Albuquerque. But they beat Utah State when they were ranked. They had that 16-1 record coming into the Thomas and Mack. They played these teams well. They've beaten some of the top teams. Now they just got to put something together and string something together and get some momentum going into the Mountain West Conference Championships, because as it is now, they got to win that thing to get an NCAA bid. And I kind of wonder, maybe Kevin Kruger's feeling a little pressure, got to get this thing turned around, got to get it going, got to get that momentum built so that when they roll into the Mountain West Conference tournament, they're one of the teams to beat. And basically, it's on their home floor, so they have that advantage. And if fans show up, because as you said, you've been around for a while too, JT, this is a basketball city before anything else. It was built around basketball with Jerry Tarkanian back in the days and that national championship and Final Four. So when you look at Las Vegas and what it means, it's basketball first and everything's come after that. So I think Kevin's really, and the surprising thing is I covered a bunch of these practices in the fall when he was building this team. I'd go to practice. I thought, this is a pretty good team.
Yeah.
But the problem is they just haven't been able to shoot the ball that well. Now they did. This past game, they shot the ball really well, so we'll see what happens in Fresno tomorrow.
Chris, I'm loving this Four Nations hockey. I really am, because it's not an all-star game. You're playing for your country and your flag, and the way they're playing, the little that I watched, it's been great, and we got a countdown to the United States against Canada, and Canada, they treat this like it's the Olympics. It's the biggest thing out there, and we got a pretty good hockey team representing the United States of America. I can't wait.
No, it's been great. They talked about how the goalies over the years, how USA got serious about real serious about hockey when they start putting all these goalie camps together, where now you have some of the elite goalies in the world are coming from the United States, not to mention the players. So this is a lot of fun. I was thinking, why couldn't they do something like this? Because there is an interest. I know hockey is a bit different, and the patriotism, and you can see it up in Montreal. They're going nuts. Even Finland was basically the home team last night when they played USA. They had a few red, white, and blue flags waving, but not much. But I was thinking, why doesn't the NBA do something like this, where you have the international up against the Americans and play some sort of a round robin like they're doing with this Four Nations face-off, where it kind of brings some excitement. Now, tomorrow you mentioned USA and Canada play, so that should be a lot of fun. You get points. You get 3 points for a win. You get, for an overtime win, you get 2, and an overtime loss, you get 1-0. So right now, USA is on top of that big 6-1 win, leading this thing. But it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow when you see that. And then next Thursday, the championship of this thing. And you, like I expect USA to be playing Canada for that title, that Four Nations face-off thing. I just think it's a great idea instead of having that all-star game that nobody cares about.
Hey, speaking of the all-star game, finally, it's the 25-year anniversary of the all-star game in Oakland, and I Googled the 2007 NBA all-star game in Vegas. Wow, that was something. I couldn't finish. I was the only remote I couldn't finish. I had to be removed from the remote because of some chaos that was going on at the old Hard Rock. I think, Chris, don't you think when we do get an NBA team, which is next, we'll be more equipped for an NBA all-star game?
Oh, yeah, their city's had so many, definitely more equipped, and everything will go off without a hitch, just because at that time, as you recall, that was like the first big thing. Vegas is getting an NBA All-Star game. That was we had boxing and NBA or college with the Runner Rebels and so forth, but to have that NBA All-Star game with the Maluks basically bringing it here, I mean, it was just phenomenal. So when you have that, but since then we've had, you got the Raiders, the Super Bowl, the NHL playoffs, the Aces. Now everything has happened. So I just think it'll be a smooth transition into the NBA. And you got that December event over at the T-Mobile Arena where the teams come in and the games count, except for that championship and that NBA Cup. So I think everything's going to be a lot of fun as soon as the NBA announces it's coming here. And I thought it would be this past fall, but now I'm thinking maybe next fall they'll announce something.
Yeah, last one. My wife, we're watching it the other night. We stay up. So we watch the 11 o'clock news live. Okay, that's what we do. We watch the news live. And my wife says to me, wow, that's a new tease. That's a new logo. That's a new logo than we're used to. And music better than Chris is freestyling a little bit more. There's some YouTube videos. There's some cut up from movies there. I like what's going on. What's happened here? Was this all you or some of the youngins around you saying, hey, let's change this up a bit?
No, I'm trying to set the table here.
Yes.
Guys. Get them to do some fun things and some unique things and unusual things. So that's the direction we're going, but we're having a blast.
You are.
There. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks.
Fun. Hey, and I do appreciate you staying up, JT.
Oh, I'm always up. We switch out of you after that. We watch a little bit of late night monologue and then we're down for the count. I appreciate our friendship and you joining us every couple Fridays. Thank you, Chris.
JT, thank you. Have a great show. We'll talk to you.
You got it. Chris Matthews, the dean of the newsmen. Yes, the guy. There's a lot of newsmen and women in town. The Wagners, Dana and Kim, are personal friends of ours, and go around from Ted Pretty with the weather to the people I like to watch here in town and the newscast I get to go on. I really enjoy that. So Chris is great. Fantastic to have him. Oh, we got a $50 Grimaldi gift card we'll give to Ray in Vegas. Yeah. Ray, we got a $50 Grimaldi gift card for you because we don't hear from enough people in Vegas, man. Most of my show is from people out of the market. So thank you for calling in Vegas.
What's up, JT?
Hey, Ray, go ahead.
Thank you for the gift card.
No problem.
Yeah, as far as the culture with Pete Carroll, I watched him from day one when he got to USC because I'm a USC fan, and his culture is going to be compete. Everybody's going to have – nobody's job is going to be safe except probably Max and Brock. That's it. You're going to have to compete for your job, and you're going to have to be passionate about playing football, or he's going to get you out of there.
Yeah,
it's going to be quick. The turnaround is going to be quick.
But everybody's been pretty into playing, right? I mean, when you follow the Raiders, you don't say, oh, that guy's not playing hard or that guy wasn't playing hard in the former regime. The culture of the players, I think, led by Max Crosby, is to play fast and hard. But I just think Pete's going to change up the style of practice and the way they compete, which I can't wait to see it. It's going to be unique.
I agree with that, but you wouldn't have had no Devontae Adams walking around doing the stuff he was doing with Pete Carroll. He would have got him out of there ASAP.
Ooh.
And
Ooh.
his ability, you look at what he does with quarterbacks, man. You know, he's gonna put the guy that he thinks can win out there on the field. I don't care if you're friends with the owner. I don't care what your contract say. If you can't help him win, look what he did with Russell Wilson. He got rid of Matt Flynn. Matt Flynn had just signed a big contract with him.
Good point.
And he the big guy, the best guy. Look what he did with the quarterback that's in Seattle now. That dude was almost a washout of the league. He made a Pro Bowl. That dude was about to be on practice squad.
It's a good phone call. But yeah, let's.
Turnaround is gonna be quick, man.
Thank you, Ray. Enjoy that $50 Grimaldi gift card, the best pizza I ever had. We've been stockpiled a few. We had to catch up on that, so we'll make sure Ray gets a $50 gift card there. And he was a good caller. Did you hear what he said about Devontae? That Devontae wouldn't have been able to pull that. I'll stay back from criticizing Devontae because Devontae and his wife are having a child. They were having a baby, and Devontae timed it where he could miss camp, miss the Minnesota game, and the Raiders didn't play well in the preseason. I didn't think they played well, and they got off to a 2-2 start. The season caved after the Raiders lost to Carolina and the Red Rocket Andy Dalton. Do we all understand that? Because, you cannot predict injuries, nor should you. We don't know who's going to get hurt. But if the Raiders beat Carolina, they would have been 3-1. 3-1. That means they could have navigated themselves to 4-4, 5-4, maybe 6-5. Once they lost to Carolina and then the 10-game losing streak happened, it was over. If you can go back in the hot tub time machine, man, it would be that Carolina game and how the team was not playing at that game at that point. That was shocking. That was a home game for the Raiders to win, to potentially be 3-1. And after that loss, everything that could go wrong went wrong. And we don't want to see that happen again. All right, let's thank our great friends today over at La Casa Cigars and Lounge. Mike's doing, the secret's out. Mike's making it bigger. I'll just leave it at that. Mike's making it much bigger. So if you've been to La Casa, you're looking for a cigar lounge, that's the one over in Tivoli Village. And what he's doing over there is pretty remarkable. Kind of like my home field advantage for a stick. Voice is not, wife won't probably let me have one this weekend because the voice needs a break. We're off on Monday. We'll be back on Tuesday.
Here's what you missed on.
All right, we'll keep this here for the top of the hour. We'll go another 10 minutes, 5 minutes, Bobby says, and then we will catch you Sunday. There's Too Short. He's on TV. Too Short.
That's how you build a winner. Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q, weekdays at 2 on Raider Nation Radio, 920 AM.
This is JT for Grimaldi's Pizzeria, that famous New York style coal-fired brick oven pizza that you crave. 4 locations in the Valley, Boca Park in Summerlin, on the Strip at the Palazzo, Southwest Las Vegas on South Rainbow.
Oh, it was E40. I thought it's E40.
Consultation with the healthcare provider will determine restrictions apply. See website for details and important
Crosby's.
subscription plan.
Hey guys,
Hundred
let's
tackle.
talk ED because
Okay.
millions of men experience
Ray
it. Not
Wadsworth,
everyone can
I looked it
access
up
or
on.
afford treatments like Viagra. HIMS can help. Through HIMS.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%.
All right, let me get into the chat here. Chat. Let's chat it up, man. Appreciate everybody here. What do we got?
For university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students
Martin
doesn't
says
allow
these
for
practices with all that music playing looked a bit too relaxed for my taste. Yeah, players like music. Players like music. Remember, these guys most of these players are in their 20s. They like music. They like having fun. They like cars. They like cars and music. Good to see Mike in there from La Casa Cigars. Come in, my friend. Always have a stick for you. Yes, you do. Appreciate it. I had your sticks in New Orleans. Fantastic.
If you've been wanting to check out dollar
Loan Center, now is the perfect time. See how much you qualify for at no cost, and you get 20% off your loan. How can you beat that? Get up to $5,000 in minutes with no checking account required and no collateral needed. New
8 News Now, Chris
customers
Matthews, the dean of the
20%
newsmen, live local now, no doubt. He's a good guy, good friend.
Back to with a special 10% discount. DLC is open on President's Day, and the loan sale ends at 6 p.m.
Oh, Fabian, who's crying in here? Let's see. Mahomes. I'm avoiding that. I'm going to talk about it next hour, but I'm avoiding that Philly parade.
You'll see the YouTube videos later.
We're chatting with our guest, always safety first, 811 Megaphone Man.
We got a golf tomorrow, golf Sunday.
Landscapers and excavators know you should always call 811 before you dig. Call 811. Call for both small
UNLV basketball Saturday and Henderson Silver Knights on Sunday.
811. Any parting words?
Dude, thank God they got boards to run and games to run, man. Henderson Silver Knights. They don't run that automated. They need a board.
Oh, yeah, you can have a board. Absolutely. I usually don't do it, so if there's no real work on this weekend, so they load me up at UNLV and
MRide will take you round trip from Circle of the Palms to Allegiant Stadium or T-Mobile Arena. No more hassle parking, sitting in traffic, waiting in long taxi or rideshare lines. MRide it, and you'll get in and out quickly. Reserve your ride at mridelv.com. Use promo code BRICK. That's mridelv.com, promo code BRICK.
What is GMTVCC?
What's everybody doing for Valentine's Day tonight? Anybody going out, celebrating at home?
Van Classic and Collector Cars. It's a brand new buying division of Give Me the VIN, but it's for classic and collector cars. Experienced pro buyers will appraise an offer on your 1970 Hemi Cuda or 1988 Fox Body Mustang or your granddad's old 1985 square body Chevy truck. GMTVCC.com is where you go to get real money for classic and collector cars to get paid now. That's GMTVCC.com, brought to you by Give Me the VIN.
Modelo is an official cerveza of the Las Vegas Raiders and the JT the Brick Show. Modelo Especial is a rich, full-flavored Pilsner-style lager, delivering a crisp, refreshing taste, brewed with fighting spirit since 1925.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you
Max
by
Crosby.
JT's, the best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
Hicks hands it off to Williams, and he's gobbled up right away. Max Crosby back at the 29, and for Max Crosby, an historic tackle for loss. That is number 100 in his career. He joins J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, and DeMarcus Ware as the only players with 100 tackles for loss in their first 6 years.
Turn it up. Stones. I need one more tour out of them. One more.
Go to Europe.
Got to get one more. Got to take the wife to the Stones. Europe. One more time. Rumors of them this summer, and we'll see what happens here. But happy Valentine's Day to everybody if you do celebrate that. Some people in this town, Bobby, and you can jump on the mic with this, they call New Year's Eve amateur hour. I disagree. I love New Year's Eve. At midnight on New Year's Eve, anywhere, I want to be the loudest guy. I want to be in the room. I want to have a Tito's on New Year's. I'm not the guy who goes to bed at 9 on New Year's and says it's amateur hour. But Valentine's Day, I got to excuse, my wife and I celebrate tomorrow. Valentine's Day in Vegas is massive for the weddings, the people who come here to get married at these little chapels and all of that. So a lot of tourism this weekend here, right?
That's absolutely very, very true. You go down to the courthouse right now, there are lines lined up around the courthouse of couples getting their licenses so they can get married this afternoon or tonight in the little chapels downtown.
Now, you were married once back in the day, correct?
Once or twice.
Once or twice. Times, yeah. Do you think it matters to a marriage getting married on Valentine's Day or getting married on a date? Marriage is supposed to be about love and a union. It's not supposed to be about, I'm getting married on a holiday. It's going to make my marriage better.
I'll tell you this one. My daughter was married on Valentine's Day. This is her 10th anniversary today. And that's how they're able to remember their holidays.
Nice.
Their anniversaries or whatnot. It's Valentine's. It's a love day. It must be that.
Yeah. We got married on Memorial Day weekend, which was, Labor Day weekend. My bad. Labor Day weekend, yes, September 4th. So that's getting married around a holiday is nice if you could take advantage of the holiday weekend. So we have President's Day coming up on Monday.
Which is the anniversary of my first wedding.
Okay. we got President's Day. We're off on Monday. So what are we going to do? This next hour, I'm going to play the Eric Allen interview again. A lot of people watched it, listened to it, mostly listened to it. And it was pretty emotional. It was exactly a week ago. And that was an interesting Friday for me because Friday on Radio Row, you don't want to go. Like, you want to get out. You want to leave. And we went down there to interview Eric Allen, but he had a busy day. He had the Commissioner's Hall of Fame brunch. And he's the man now. EA's the man. And it's going to be unbelievable. I can't wait to see him again and give him a big hug and congratulate him as we count down there also. When we come back, also the mock drafts. I got two from CBS Sports here in front of me. If you're watching, you can see. I'm going to go through how unique the mock draft guys are for the Raiders. A lot of people have Shedeur dropping a 6. Let me end this hour by saying if Shedeur is available at 6, you get Shedeur at 6. You don't want to get Shedeur at 1, 2, 3, trade up. I'm good with that. If Shedeur drops to 6, any Raider fan that doesn't buy into that, why the hell were you bothering me the last 4 years complaining about the quarterbacks? If Shedeur is available at 6, and Cam Ward I don't think will be available, but if Shedeur's there, man, you should have saw his entourage. Oh, wow. 29 years of Radio Row, never seen anything like it, which is good. He had videographers. He had people carrying, I don't know what they were carrying. He was just the king of Radio Row. Could he drop to the Raiders at number 6? Thanks to the bricklayers, everybody on our YouTube channel. Appreciate all of them for everything they do. Thank you very much.